Like each one of our work is essentially becoming we are managers of multiple agents, where each agent is bringing a specific type of expertise to us, and we are utilizing their expertise to make our day-to-day work better. If you put 100 people in a room and then ask for ideas on a particular problem, right, you will get a large variety of ideas. Whereas if you ask 100 times the questions to the generative AI model, you're not going to get that large a distribution of ideas. We are all becoming managers of agents, right? So we are going to have, you could imagine yourself having a bunch of agents always active, if you're a knowledge worker, active in your laptop and that is assisting you with the work that you're doing.
You're listening to Data Analytics Chat, where data meets career.
Welcome to Data Analytics Chat, the podcast where we discuss the world of data, AI, and the careers shaping it. My guest today is Viji Krishnamurthy, who is a VP, Head of AI and Generative AI at Oracle. In this episode, we'll explore her career journey, the challenges, and the insights she has learned during her career today. The data topic will look at the challenges, successes, and transformations of generative AI. Viji, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I'm glad to have you on. And yeah, we've got a hot topic, I should say, in the market right now.
Yeah, sounds good. Looking forward to it, Ben. Yeah.
So do you want to start off with sharing your career journey for the listeners?
Yeah, happy to. I studied for a while and after completing my PhD, I started my career as a scientist, working on a variety of problems, mostly ML problems at the time, and integrated those problems into a variety of enterprise applications. After working as a scientist building those kind of applications, I moved into IoT, which was at the beginning phase of its cycle. And because IoT has a large amount of data, I wanted to work in IoT area to see how we can transform that data into actionable insights. So I worked in IoT for a while, both at startups as well as at Samsung. And then I got an opportunity to lead sciences and product for enterprise IoT application at Oracle. And I joined Oracle to lead the sciences and also worked on a number of IoT applications covering asset monitoring, production, manufacturing, and transportations and logistics, etc. And then after working in IoT applications and supply chain applications and enterprise ERP applications at Oracle, and I got an opportunity to lead AI services, which we were just starting to build as a part of Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. I led AI services product, and then we moved into generative AI services, which we started to build. So I led the generative AI outbound for a while. And then now I lead generative AI for industry applications at Oracle. So I've been at Oracle for about 9+ years. And prior to that, I worked at Samsung and startup as well as Philips. That's my career.
Brilliant. And what got you into the industry out of interest?
So between right after PhD, instead of
Yeah,
going
what was your interest? Like, how did you fall into the industry, or?
No, right after PhD, majority of my classmates go to academia, and I was one of the very few people who went to industry. During PhD, I learned so much of math techniques, both fundamentals as well as how to apply different machine learning techniques and how to do neural network based model building, etc. So I was more curious about how I can apply these techniques into practical problems at enterprises. And that's why I chose to join industry versus academia. But nowadays, I continue to contribute in academia as a guest lecturer in local universities. And I also go back to my alma mater once in a while and then connect with students.
Okay, amazing. So you've progressed up the career ladder and moved into leadership. Was there a part in your career where someone opened the door for you and gave you an opportunity, or was it natural progression?
I think definitely all of our career is influenced by the opportunities and also people opening up the door for us. I had multiple influencing individuals across my career, both in my academic career as well as an industry career, right? For example, the reason that I ended up doing PhD was that my master's thesis professor was very influential in convincing me that I should do PhD, because I was very interested in understanding techniques and combining the techniques to solve various kinds of problems. And he was very encouraging of me to go to PhD. And similarly, during my industry career, like a lot of my managers have been very influential in terms of shaping my career. For example, one of my managers said that when I was a scientist leader, one of my managers said that you're really good at understanding customers' problems and converting them into math problems. Maybe you should try doing a product management for a while because it'll really help in shaping your career and shaping your understanding of industry problems better, which ended up influencing me to switch from sciences leader to a product leader, which actually ended up helping me to grow into kind of a general manager type role where I lead both sciences and product team members as well as engineering team members in identifying, discovering, and solving problems of various kinds. Definitely, a lot of people have contributed to where I am today.
Okay, amazing. So would that be a defining moment, or would there be something else that's really impacted your career?
I would say there are two defining moments that really shaped my career as well as the way that I look at my career as well. One is right off my PhD, like I had the opportunity to work in various kind of industries, but I chose to work in the optoelectronics, microelectronics industry, which ended up being a very really one of the defining moments because that industry is characterized by the large amount of data, right? Because the wafers take so many steps to get processed, and you have so much of process data coming from every single equipment. And how do you use all of the data to predict the quality of the product or the kind of product that you can build? How you can allocate certain products for different industries? All of these kind of ML and heuristics based models that I was able to build really shaped my understanding of how math technique could be used for solving variety of problems, both manufacturing, distribution, pricing, as well as a product fit type of problems. And that continues to shape my understanding even today. I would say that's a defining moment for me. Because I was exposed to such a complex enterprise processes, it is easier for me to understand other industries and have an equivalence framework in my mind as to like how a e-commerce or a banking or how a different healthcare industry operates, that I'm able to understand it far better. So I would really say that's a defining moment. The second defining moment is that every ML in heuristics based and AI applications that I solutions that I built I was integrating with different kind of applications from SAP and Oracle and others. And the opportunity to work at Oracle and embed those ML and AI solutions inside the product has been a really good defining moment for me as well, because the opportunity to come to the product team and then build various kinds of ML and AI and now GenAI solutions that is part of the banking application, healthcare applications, and transportations and communications applications, or retail, or back office applications like ERP, SCM, and CX applications have been definitely one of the defining moments in my career.
Brilliant. I think it's probably that product role's probably had a massive influence because it's a lot of talk in the sort of industry that obviously data scientists, this heavy tool, there's tools that do the heavy lifting now, and it's becoming like data science is becoming more like business focused, isn't it? How can we impact the company more? Because it's not as technical now; it's more product focused. So, do you think that was like giving you a lot more all round sort of approach to apply development and creating solutions?
Yeah, definitely. Data science, research is all fun to do, but the research needs to meet the enterprise problem at hand, right? At some point of time for it to be really useful. So I've always, both as a scientist myself as well as a sciences manager, I've always looked to my team as well as myself to work on problems of value, like problems that generate value. In some cases, it could take a little longer research phase before you can actually experiment on real problems to make an impact. But otherwise, as a scientist in an enterprise environment, you're always trying to find what enterprise problems are of high value and how do I use existing techniques and a combination of techniques to really solve that problem. And even after you create that solution, what is the gap, and are that gaps, or those gaps can be filled by the business users easily? And if that is the case, is the solution still a viable solution to make it as a part of the product feature? This is the kind of process we follow. I think it continues to apply as the models becoming bigger, better and better, and able to do more general skills like the way that we have with the generative AI models.
Brilliant. And I like how you said, like, focus on the high value projects, because that's going to make the biggest impact. And I think there's a lot of projects that need to be done, but I think in the day, you still need to stick to business basics, like obviously you even improving efficiencies or increasing profit, etc. You need to make the most impactful decisions, because then that's going to move the needle the quickest, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think there's a lot of problems to solve, but you're always going to prioritize based on the value that it can provide. All right. So
What were the tough challenges you faced along the way?
I think the tough challenges as a part of my career would be like, for example, I'm always in the position of proposing novel solutions to the problems at hand. And that means that the responsibility to prove that it works is on me or my team. That is one of the challenges that you always continue to face, because I have been in ML and AI and generative AI now, in terms of either developing solutions, working with customers, working with strategic customers on solving their use cases with these technologies. And as a result, or introducing these kind of ML and AI based or Gen AI based features in the products. As a result, this challenge continues to be part of my career in every phase of my career. But I enjoy this challenge in a way, because it helps me to learn about the new technologies and keep pace with the new technologies, and also help my team and the extended team with educational sessions, helping them to understand how this can really solve the problem at hand, and also how understand the cause of resistance and addressing them with a shared sense of goal and also a shared benefit from the targeted outcome. This is a challenge that I enjoy working with on the daily basis. It's a challenge, but it's an enjoyable challenge. The second challenge is like I come from a somewhat of a unique background compared to the mainstream AI leader, because I have a PhD and I understand and I read papers, I understand these techniques, and I read papers and I experiment with them, these model techniques. And I've also been a product manager building products that are grounded on AI, ML, Gen AI technologies. And also, I'm very rarely you see a scientist turned into a product manager and then into a general manager kind of a role that I'm in. Generally, I get whoever I talk to, generally they box me into a sciences leader or a product leader. And it's a challenge in a way that, they expect you to be one or the other. But I also enjoy getting boxed in a way. And then I jump out of the box by showing how I fall in the intersection of the sciences, product, and enterprise challenges. And it's something that I do with pretty much everyone I talk to, customers, partners, as well as internal, external teams. So I think these two challenges are something that I handle on the daily basis, as well as in my career along the way, and they also shape me in helping to look for the right problems and the right way to present the problems, as well as my ideas.
Yeah, I think it's funny how people get pigeonholed into certain spaces. Everyone's unique. Everyone's got different talents, isn't there? Like everyone's come. I mean, you look at data roles now; it's so diverse. Like people in leadership positions, products, technical positions. It's so broad now, isn't it? Like different roles.
Exactly.
I think it's more of a learning, isn't it? You need to understand people better to know what their capabilities are.
Yeah, and there is room for everybody in this, right? Particularly with the way that the models are getting better and better, we need more and more critiquing, like understanding and critiquing capabilities from us, like from the users of the model. And as a result, I think there's so much of space for everybody to participate actually in this.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it comes across all parts of life, isn't it? Like people get pigeonholed. It's just, if it's from people's experiences, if they've experienced a certain individuals done something, the memory sticks. But I think people need to be a bit more open-minded, because everyone's different. Everyone's got different experiences in life as well.
Yeah. And we're all a pattern recognition and machines, right? Because that is a system one, right? You talk to somebody and then you immediately recognize a pattern and then you box them into that. But and then the system two kicks in and then helps you to learn more about that individual and then start to see, okay, they're not in that box. They're able to contribute here, they're able to contribute there, and they have knowledge here. So that's how we act as individual. And I think I expect that to happen in my interactions and I actually work around it.
So do you jump out the box and surprise a lot of people?
Yeah, I think because if I'm talking to product leader, they don't expect me to know a lot about the sciences. And if I talk to a sciences leader, they don't expect me to know too much about the sciences because they think I'm a product leader. So it's a sort of you, but and then after a little bit of a talking, everyone like people get to see, okay, you can do this as well as that. And then that sort of helps us to make progress on the problem at hand or the topic that we want to make progress on. So overall, I think I'm getting better and better at actually jumping out of it quick enough that we can make the interactions a lot more interesting and productive for all of us. Yeah.
Good and amazing like that. But I also think as data's the hot topic now, isn't it? 15 years ago, everyone wanted to be a software developer. Now everyone wants to be in the data field, and the roles are going to keep evolving. Technology is going to evolve, so people are going to be wearing multiple hats. So it's going to be a lot more surprises.
Yeah, definitely. I think all of us are needing to I think this is something that comes up quite a bit, right? How do we see the data scientist, applied scientist, and product leader, all of these roles evolving, right? And if we expect all of us to be managers of multiple agents, then we are essentially transforming our work from actually generating content and solving particular problems. We are actually going into distilling the work so that LLMs can understand the work or generative AI models can understand the work, produce content for us, and we become evaluators and critique of that work. And so that we can keep critiquing and correcting and then making the work as a higher and higher quality. So it applies to pretty much everybody. And if you're a data scientist and you used to really code quite a bit of data transformations and all of those, you're not coding anymore, those things, right? You're actually working with agents to really transform that data into the form that you could use. Similarly, if you're a software developer, you're using generative AI models for developing the code. You are distilling a particular expectation provided to the generative AI model. They are producing the code for you, and then you're becoming a critique, working with the agent to make it better and better. Same thing if you're a marketing content generator or if you're a customer success or a customer support person. Like each one of our work is essentially becoming we are managers of multiple agents, where each agent is bringing a specific type of expertise to us and we are utilizing their expertise to make our day-to-day work better. So that's how everybody's work is getting transformed. No, same thing applies to data engineer, data scientist, applied scientist, everybody.
Yep, it's constant evolution. So what key skills or mindsets have helped you progress into leadership?
Definitely continuous learning, because it's been 20 years since I graduated from PhD. And when I was doing PhD, like neural networks were very hard to build because we didn't have enough compute. But and then compute evolved with cloud, and now we can build bigger and bigger models with transformers. So learning continuously on what is feasible and experimenting with those learnings has been one of the key skills. And I highly encourage everybody to do. The second is sharing and educating constantly, right? Because I work with mixed talent team, like team with software development experience who are new to AI. And there are scientists who are experts in ML and ML ops, but learning more in the GenAI. There are leaders who are SMEs in particular market vertical. It could be hospitality or retail or banking, but learning how new to GenAI and see how GenAI can really help them. So because I work with mixed talent internally as well as externally with partners, sharing and educating constantly has been one of the key skills for me to be good at what I do. And then the third is passionate about solving problems of value with tech, which means putting ourselves in the shoes of the customer, internal, external customer, understanding their problem, understanding what is the value of solving the problem, and then figuring out how that problem can be solved with a combination of tech that is at hand, and always open to helping others on the problems at hand have been one of the key skills, I would say, because I'm one of the very approachable leaders and I'm a very collaborative leader. So I talk to scientists as well as engineers and product managers across the company and also sales team members. I learn from them, help them contribute in their day-to-day problems that they're working on, and that way it also helps me to learn and shape my ideas on where this technology can help and what are the gaps in the technology as well.
Brilliant. And so would you, obviously with the continuous improvement development, do you set yourself time each day or is it ad hoc? How do you go about it?
Oh, great question. So I make sure that I read about 5 to 7 research papers a week. So that means I have fixed time slots in my calendar. For example, my Saturday mornings are reading papers, and also I read papers on my Wednesday nights usually, because it helps me to noodle on what I'm reading on Wednesday for a couple of days and see whether there are some new ideas that I can develop from there. And then similarly, whatever I read on Saturday. And Saturday helps, like, also I use some time on my Saturday to experiment on the ideas with the models of various kinds. Like, I use pretty much models across the board and see whether they can solve the problem, whether they actually have a hiccup, and whether that gap can be filled by some creative ideas. That's what I explore. I also read orthogonal books. Like, I feel that my ideas are also shaped by reading books in neuroscience, and I'm also a novice learner of quantum physics. And these things really help me to learn things that are usually out of bounds for me. And usually I don't have a foundational understanding of those areas, but it helps me to come up with new ideas.
And it's like quantum physics. Do you think that's going to be, is that the next big thing, do you think?
I think so. I think so. But there are some fundamental problems of controllable behaviors that are going to be quite challenging to really solve. So I'm not like, it's definitely, if you're thinking about intelligent systems, if in the arc of intelligent systems building, we are in the portion of the arc where we are building better and better systems that mimic human behavior, right? Human digital behavior. Whatever we have actually put it on the digital space, we are able to train the model and we are able to make these models understand the patterns, memorize some of the content, and then reproduce in a way that it looks like human produced content, right? That's where we are. The next space is that how are we going to enable mimicking human behavior in physical space, right? That's where the robotics and the autonomous vehicles and all of these are going in, right? We'll continue to keep building that intelligence. And then we have to also think about like how we are going to get these systems to, right now most of these systems are doing system one type. They are not doing a reflection based work. They are basically reacting to the question. So how do you really make these intelligent system to do system two level work, which is like a sit back, think about it, collaborate with others, learn, get ideas from various places, like a high entropy kind of a behavior, right? Take, like, if you put 100 people in a room and then ask for ideas on a particular problem, right, you will get a large variety of ideas. Whereas if you ask 100 times the questions to the generative AI model, you're not going to get that large a distribution of ideas because it's not a very high entropy system like the way that the human creativity is, right? But to be able to really solve very tough problems, we need really highly creative ideas. And how do you really encourage these, like really build models to really be that creative? At the same time, even though it is that creative, it is still producing high quality ideas that can be combined and furthered for better and better ideas, right? We need that to be able to solve some of the tough problems we have. We'll be doing that. And then if we keep doing that, we'll reach a point where the system is basically, you can kick off a million of these models together and ask them to work together to solve one of the really tough problems like cancer cure or space-based problems, right? That's the direction we are trying to head to. And then as a part of working on this, we need the kind of compute and exploration that is above and beyond what we are doing. Is what we have is a conjecture. And if that is the case, if you're going to build a completely new architecture and we need a different kind of compute, etc., do we need quantum based compute? And that's where the quantum compute later work is coming in. But if based on my naive understanding of quantum, it is really like it's still we are at a pretty early phase of quantum because we are able to solve simple problems, but even a little bit complex problems are resulting in high margin of error that is unacceptable. So it's going to be something that we'll keep watching and seeing that what happens during our lifetime.
Yeah, enough fascinating. And there's only a small amount of businesses that are investing in this space at the minute. So we'll see where the future lies. And I guess just going back to your, Aussie, I love that you're spending time each week to learn. I think it's so important. Has there been a book that shaped your path or your success has really stood out and impacted you?
Lot of books because I read about a book a month on the average. But the research one I would say is a couple of books have been really instrumental. One is I really like these a couple of these books. One is the alignment problem, which is a little older, not a recent year book, but it's one of those books that I go back to often and read. I like the way, like, I like it. It helps me every time I read. It helps me to come up with a new set of questions on AI. Alignment Problem by Brian Christian, which is a good book to read. The other book that I found it really interesting, and I go back quite a bit on the AI space is the Brief History of Intelligence by Max Bennett. I read it maybe a couple of years ago, and I go back quite a bit because it helps me to learn more about the evolution as to like how the brain evolved and how the language came later, but then how we have gotten the system to like our current models, right? We are able to teach it to learn the languages well before able to do the simulation planning and reasoning, which is very interesting because we have evolved to have simulation planning, reasoning, mentalizing before language, whereas the systems that we are building are going in a little bit of a different, they're taking a different path. So it helps me to come up with new questions that I need to explore whenever I'm rereading them. On the quantum physics, I'm also reading quite a bit of books on that because there are some common questions they ask, and both quantum and the AI, space is asking. So there's quite a number of books actually shaped my thought process, and I feel like they continue to shape. Like I read a number of books on these. I also have a lot of friends who are recommending me books all the time, so that helps me to find the books that I want to read as well.
Yeah, no, I think reading's so great. It's you're looking for that one snippet, and you can apply that to your work, and then it can make a massive difference. I think constant development, isn't it? Really.
Agree.
What advice would you give someone aspiring to become a leader?
Yeah, I would say I talk to a lot of graduate students periodically, and this is what I tell them: have your own sense of success, right? Your own definition of success. Because chasing standard career ladder and all of those may not really result in the kind of fulfillment that we all need. Like I focus on what would make most of my daily life enjoyable, because not 100% of the time having fun is impossible, but can is most of my daily life interesting and enjoyable and really triggering curious ideas for me. And that is something that helps you to create what is your own sense of, for me that is my sense of success. So encourage people to have their own sense of success. Second is I really think knowing your own strength and then strategizing around your own strengths to find your own career path is would be the I would encourage people to do that, because I think there is room to define our own career in any industry. Like you don't have to really follow the specific path. Having bringing your own strength and building around your strength is the right way to go. The third is, I already talked about this, learning, imagining, and experimenting constantly really it has helped me immensely. And I think that's one of the advice that I would definitely give to everyone. Continue to learn, continue to imagine solutions, combining the ideas together and then experimenting how they pan out.
Brilliant. Some great advice there. Okay, cool. So let's move on to the data topic. And it's obviously going to be an interesting one. Yeah, everyone's talking about it and everyone's trying to solve it. So with generative AI then, so what has been the big challenges enterprise face when implementing at scale?
So I would say there are three broad challenges that we have, right? One is getting the model to understand and work with the enterprise content, right? Enterprise content is quite diverse. And the current model is not built on that. Current model is built on the online data. And online data is not exactly representative of the enterprise content compared to the online data. Enterprise data is a lot more cleaner and there are a lot more, but at the same time it's not used in the pre-training phase of the model, and during the pre-training phase of the model understands certain knowledge, and also it also understands the way to put together this knowledge as well. There is an algorithmic knowledge that is gained during this pre-training phase, as well as some information is also learned during this pre-training phase. But when we are really feeding the enterprise data, right, we are feeding the enterprise data as an external knowledge, either as a prompt or as a knowledge base for it to retrieve and then use. And this is working okay for some of the use cases, but this is insufficient, right? Like, how do you really make these models to understand the enterprise knowledge and use that effectively and to really produce the high quality output is one of the challenges that we face with these models, and this is definitely a challenge that everyone is working on and we are also working on. The second challenge is deploying these systems in such a way that they learn continuously. Like today, these models don't learn continuously, right? And in an enterprise environment, right, if I'm talking to an agent and I've provided a particular guidance on what I expect when I'm asking a question to the agent, I want that agent to remember the next time I'm talking to them, I'm talking to it about the same topic, right? You want it to continuously learn, not only from an individual, but also from the community of the users of that agent, so that it gets better and better and helps with higher efficiency on the enterprise problems. And today we don't have, and this is the active research area. There's quite a bit of fine tuning, RL based work, as well as instruction tuning. Other methods are getting evolved, but it is still one of the challenges to have a continuous learning system. The third challenge is consistency and reliability and accuracy of the output, right? These models, you have to make sure that they produce the variety of output that is needed, but at the same time, it is not changing every time you ask the same question as well. We are addressing industry as well as we are addressing this with number of evaluators, verifiers, both verifiers based on ML models, rules-based systems, as well as other LLM-based verifiers. But this is also one of the big challenges. Like, how do you really produce consistent, reliable output that and also provide some confidence indication of that output to the user, so that the user could actually act on it or further their exploration with citations or rephrasing the question, etc. So I think these three challenges are actively being worked on, but these three definitely exist today.
Okay. And with, also, we could discuss the look at some success stories in next, but would there be any common themes where people are overcoming their challenges? Are they doing any certain things? Are they moving quicker? Is there any common themes there?
Great question, right? So I think one thing that I'm seeing, one of the themes that I'm seeing is there is a type of data platforms that are emerging, in the sense that we used to have data platform before that basically helps to pool all the data and then make them available. Like today, I think the data platforms are becoming like starting to focus on data enrichment, preparing the data for agentic use. This kind of new focus is coming on the data platform, so that the data is not only prepared for human understanding and human level use, whereas how do we really create extensive annotations and extensive description of the data so that agents can be exposed to the data and they can be utilized for answering questions. So the data platform side that I see emergence of new ideas coming up. The other area I see is the evaluation platform. I'm putting this as a very broad bucket, the evaluation platform. Essentially, how do you evaluate a particular agent's output? It could be from different dimensions. It could be that like you're distilling the output into 3 or 4 different categories, and then you have verifiers for each one of those categories. And how do you really build those verifiers? Can those verifiers be user-defined functions, or it could be based on other ML models, AI models? And how do you really build them, and how do you maintain them, and how do you use this kind of evaluators on the continuous basis for tracking the performance and improvement, right? So that is evaluators. And also, how do you simulate? Like, given that I have created a agent, I put it on a simulation mode, and then create another agent to question this agent, and then completely simulate various kinds of questions and see how well the evaluators are rating the output of the agent, and whether the agent is production ready, or then topics in which the agent is underperforming. This kind of evaluation platform is going beyond just the evaluation, enabling evaluation, as well as tracking the actual KPIs that is coming out of the evaluators, and then rating whether the agents are doing well at time equal to 0, as well as during the entire production mode. That kind of evaluator platform is also evolving quite a bit. I think the third area that I think is actually an early phase, but I would love to see more and more effort, is how do we cohesively collect data, user feedback data. User feedback data could be just thumbs up and thumbs down. It could also be detailed feedback, or it could be rephrasing of the question, which is an indication that the user's intent is not understood. It could also be some new knowledge that is provided by the user as a part of the interaction. There is so much of rich data that is coming from the user. How do we really collect that, and how do we transform that into a type of data set that could be used for continuous learning, whether it is transforming them into a SFT data so that you could do fine tuning, or whether you transform them into kind of policies or reward functions for your RL, and how do you or transform them into a knowledge base that is used by the agent to retrieve and use it as a part of the prompt. Like this sort of like feedback collection or a user input collection to really make the agents a truly collaborative agents is also evolving. And I see 1 or 2 startups starting to work on this. So I'm hoping that these are the 3 common themes that I'm seeing as ideas that will potentially help us solve these challenges.
Okay, cool. Good. Some great insight there. Thank you. So, what a success story where generative AI has delivered clear business value?
Yeah, so generative AI models today, the way they are extremely valuable in multiple efficiency focused use cases. As a result, you see a lot of assistants and advisor type agents that are released across the board. Even in I highly encourage you to look at our Oracle AI World keynotes, because all of our leaders have presented multiple use cases, and we have released about 600 plus agents across our applications, and if you look at them, they are all either assisting with the right information based on the natural language interaction, or they are advising what is the best course of action that one could take based on the history, given the current business status. So pretty much all the chatbots are getting transformed into knowledge assistant and advisors. And this we are seeing across the board in the customer support assistants or ticketing agents, etc. Right? So you see quite a bit of efficiency is gained. We have even published multiple blogs that shows more than 25% ticket deflections in some of these agents, because we are able to auto deflect and auto answer the questions that are coming up based on the history. This is one large area that we see a lot of success stories from our customers. The second area is the content generation and analysis, right? Pretty much, if you look at the kind of agents that we have released, a substantial portion of them are assisting with auto summarizing an uploaded document, or auto updating a transaction based on an uploaded document, or auto generating a draft. It could be a draft document, draft email, draft contract. It could be any of those. So auto generating these, and we have seen our customers talking about how this has actually enabled them to save substantial portion of their time in completing that task. So it is content compilation, summarization. It could also be various kinds of report generation and others. So this is another area where we are seeing quite a lot of success story. The third area where we are seeing a huge success is coding. When you distill your coding requirement into specific tasks, we are seeing generative AI models to be really good at generating a good code, but you have to distill them into a separate specific task, and also you have to provide specific coding policies if you have specific policies as per your enterprise requirement. If you do, then we see that we have a product called Oracle Code Assist that is pretty much used in developing all of our products internally, and we are also seeing our customers using them as well. So in addition to code generation, we've also seen a lot of success with document generation, test suite generation, release report generation, and or updating Jira tickets based on what is completed, based on LLM based summary of work completions. All of this, we see quite a bit of success. So I would say these are the huge success areas at this point. And we are like, this solves pretty much affects everyone across the business functions, right? Because we've seen these agents and advisors used by sales, business development, product development is using coding, content generation is using by marketing, and product management teams within the company. And also we see our customers also across the board, the business users from different functional areas, or using agents and advisors of various kinds that we've released.
Okay. It's interesting to see, and obviously it's going to be, a lot more successes moving forward as well. It's a lot's happened, isn't it? Really, and even in the last couple of years, it's been massive, dramatic changes.
Yeah, definitely. Like quite a bit of, we've made a lot of progress, like you say, in adapting this technology and understanding how they can solve enterprise problems in the last couple of years.
So with organisations, how are they addressing the risks around hallucinations, bias, and trust using generative AI in production?
I think if you see, I already talked about one of these points, like evaluate. I keep saying, because we do a lot of evaluation during design time of these solutions, and we are also encouraging our customers to evaluate extensively. So you have to evaluate from various aspects where things could go wrong from the overarching goals perspective. That's one. The second is designing and deploying these verifiers, like just like I not just using only LLM based verifiers, because LLM based verifiers can be gamed in some situations. So we deploy a combination of LLM and non LLM based verifiers, and we also distill the output into multiple categories so that you could indeed build a non LLM based verifier that can actually evaluate that aspect explicitly. Designing and deploying correct verifiers is a huge way in which we are able to address this risk. The third is collecting feedback and continuously monitoring the behavior of the agents, right? So every question asked to the agent, recording what was asked, what is answered, what was the feedback from the user, and using the evaluator rating that answer and see whether is there a drift in the agent's behavior due to new document addition or new user base or new type of questioning behavior. All these kind of continuous monitoring is also helping us to de-risk some of the issues that you talked about. And the other is a periodic update on the system based on the feedback, optimizing the pipeline, re-optimizing the prompt, and also updating the guardrail topics as to based on the feedback to ensure that some of these questions are not answered, or some of the topics are put into the guardrailing list as well. Like these things really help us quite a bit. So I like the way that we are looking at our agents is, we design an agent, we do quite a bit of verify and design and evaluate extensively during the design time and deploy them. And then during the production mode, we collect a lot of feedback as well as the question and answers and the corresponding evaluator results for those answers, so that we can continue to monitor whether the agents continue to behave like the way that we assessed during the design time, or is there a drift, or there are specific topics where it doesn't work well. And this helps us to understand whether the current agent design is sufficient, or whether we have to really add a new focused agent on a topic that it is not able to answer very well. All of these kind of updates, periodic updates, is also that we do. And I see that this is how we are able to succeed in de-risking some of these hallucinations, bias, and other issues.
Okay, fascinating. And then, so I see here a lot of stories about companies going all in with generative AI, others a bit cautious. What cultural or organisational shifts are needed for enterprises to fully harness like GenAI?
This is a really important question, right? So essentially, like we talked about, right, we are all becoming managers of agents, right? So we are going to have, you could imagine yourself having a bunch of agents always active if you're a knowledge worker, active in your laptop and that is assisting you with the work that you're doing. And similarly, if you're in a factory operator or if you're in any kind of operator, you will be having agents that are helping you, right? So as a result, when we are transforming ourselves from doing the work to distilling the work for the LLM and evaluating the LLM's output and nudging it, teaching it, correcting it to do a better job, then we have to become good at critiquing other people's work, like meaning not other people's work and the agent's work, essentially. So how do we and that is a skill that is a skill development compared to actually generating answer, because answering is one type of skill, but critiquing the other answers and then helping that answer to be getting better and better is a different kind of skill. So I think there is a cultural shift happening as to looking at each one of us and saying that, hey, can you actually critique agent's work and then make it better and then teach the agent to get better and better at what is expected from that task, right? That is the cultural shift that we are all making. The other shift is that it's how do you really provide the information to the agent, not only what happened in the business, but also why it happened. So we are all becoming like a data curators in a way, because if I just say that you're an e-commerce company and then you just provide that this product is shipped to this customer, like this is the kind of transactions that you provide to the agents would only know what was shipped to who, right? It won't know why it was shipped to that particular customer. Then when there are only certain number of limited supply, why 3 customers are chosen to get the product and the remainder were not given the product, right? You have to start providing this reasoning behind it. Only then we can start to expect the agents to really do the business side of the reasoning to make the right decisions and recommend right decisions. So as a result, we are all becoming curators, data curators, in a way that we are teaching the agent on the reasons behind why we are recommending certain behavior, we are recording, or we'll all. But this is a shift that is happening slowly. I see that we are not only recording the transactions, but also reasoning behind the transactions, so that it can be that particular task can be agentified in a way so that the agents can really use those reasoning to learn and reason for the new problem at hand. And the third type of transformation that I see, organizational transformation that is happening, is we are going from individual expertise to community expertise. So we are no longer talking about we are going to be less and less worried about training the individuals on a particular task, because we can always provide agents as assistants to individual employees, individual team members. And how do you because that way we can actually level set everyone with the same agents and same set of knowledge, so that they could do their job somewhat similarly. So this would completely change the organizational training, learning, and growth in a way, because I'm not trying to be as good as the best in my team. If say I'm part of a call center, I'm not trying to be as good as the best in my team, because all of us have access to the same set of agents that help us with information about how to solve a particular customer problem. Now that means organizationally there is a shift happening as to how are we going to set goals and expectations and train each of us. And that's going from the individual expertise to how do you really train the individual so that the community expertise is increased. And this is also a big shift that is happening from the organization perspective.
Yeah, I think transformation is the toughest bit, because most every business they want to get to A to B, but implementation is just so hard, I think, for people, because you're dealing with people, and as soon as the goalposts move, it's constant change, isn't it? And you got to keep evolving and changing, which I think is the tough bit.
Yeah, it is tough, but I think the organizations that are making this transformation are the ones that are going to start seeing that kind of benefit as well, right? Going from individual to agent managers and going from individuals to SMEs who are curating data for agents to act better. and going from individual expertise to the community expertise, and actually working towards keep on improving that community expertise from day to day and month to month, or the will result in that organization to reap the benefit of this technology. And I do see it's tough, but I do see this kind of transformation happening.
So is this going to be down to strong leadership or firms being more creative?
I think it's not this or that per se. Definitely, some of these transformations require like a top down blessing, because it's an organizational change and it's not easy without complete alignment all the way to the top. Some of these are put into motion with leadership from the top down leadership who are saying that this is where we are going. And some of this is also happening from the creativity of the organization itself. I've observed this in my career. You have a team and there is a 3 or 4 people just murmur about something new, and then they start working on it, and then it snowballs into something that becomes the focus within a quarter or two of that team, right? That is also happening, like the creativity of the individuals that is snowballing some of these transformations, and also questioning what could be done creatively with this technology. How can we take, for example, one of the recent things that I've seen is, how could we take the graph that we used to do before generative AI model? How could we use the graph to really transform the enterprise data so that we could teach the agents better? This is something that had come from the creativity of the individual team members, right? So it didn't come from the top down, but it comes from the bottom. So same thing on the how do we record the reasoning behind the transactions in a consistent manner, right? This is something that is coming from the bottom. So it's a combination of both for sure.
Okay, brilliant. So looking ahead, how do you see generative AI transforming enterprise applications over the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, I think in your question, the 3 to 5 years is the key phrase. So I will stick to the 3 to 5 years. This is where I think this is going, right? Like we are going to basically, our applications are going, all the enterprise applications are going to be transformed with agents. So you're going to do most of your work, if not all, through the agentic interaction versus actually logging into the application, going through the UX workflows and clicking through those UX workflows, right? So agentic interaction will start to do some of the repetitive work initially and then start to do more and more is my expectation. And as a part of this, we'll also start to see some of these personalized app experiences to evolve, right? For both of us maybe using the same application, but both of us maybe, like each of us is using it in a slightly different way, right? Because we have different goals, different intents for each one of our interactions. And as a result, when it is an agentic interface, I feel like there is a huge opportunity for completely personalizing that agent, from learning more about your behavior, which is different from my behavior with the agent, and the agent start to adapt to the individual that it is talking to, is my expectation. So the personalized app experiences will come into fruition. And the third, like from there, I feel like, okay, now that personalized agents is helping me with assisting me with what I need when I need it, pretty soon the agents will start to learn I do certain things in a specific way, and can those be automated? So you'll move from assistants to automation agents. And this requires quite a bit of work, because automation means I need to be very accurate and I need to have consistency in the way that the agents are behaving. And there should be audit trails with which I can actually check how it came to that particular set of tasks to be automated, etc. It's not going to be easy. There's going to be a lot of improvements that is needed between where we are and where we need to go. This is like the march of the nines, right? It takes the same amount of time to keep adding to the reliability of these agents. It's going to take a lot of effort to go from 90s to 99,999 to 9999 to go very close to the 100%, right? I think there's going to be quite a bit of work needed, but I do expect some of these agents to become agents to actually start doing some of the repetitive work automatically. And also the agents to become more collaborative agents for decision-making interaction. So now that majority of the transaction creation, transaction update, and all of these can be automated, assuming that we have achieved the reliability, then the only interactions that I'm having the kind of interaction that majority of the interaction that I'm having with the agents is going to be decision-making interaction. That means agents should have to become collaborative to me, and they have to collaborate with me, and they have to start generating scenarios, help me explore the scenarios, help me understand the benefits and the pitfalls of the different scenarios, and help me find a way in which I can solve the problem at hand. Decision-making collaborative agents will start to evolve. I believe that we'll get there. And then I think once the decision making agents are there, right, then you'll start to you'll start to try to get into system 2 like behavior. I don't have to collaborate with you in a live mode and ask you various questions. If there are some type of explorations that I do periodically related to financial account reconciliation, or ways in which I can minimize my investment on certain areas, or ways in which I can support our customers better, etc., right? Like these kind of problems, then would I have these agents? Will the agents learn enough so that they can become more like a system tool? Like they actually proactively start looking at signals that could result in certain business problems, and it starts generating recommendations. Proactively coming to the business user and say, hey, I see this happening. This is the signal. And if I project it out, I see X% of the customers are going to be affected, and I recommend these corrective actions. So this kind of agents I expect. And for that, again, it's not going to be easy. None of this is going to be easy because there is quite a bit of gap between where we are and where we have to go in terms of solving some of the model gaps related to consistency, reliability, and also ability for it to learn continuously and ability for it to consume diverse enterprise data. But as we make progress on this, I expect in the next 3 to 5 years, we see more and more of these collaborative agents, automation agents, and as well as system 2 type agents that are constantly observing, studying, generating recommendations, come to us proactively. Those kind of agents will come into practical use, I think.
Brilliant. Thank you for your insights. I love your passion, your dedication to the industry, and obviously we'll see if your predictions are right. And also I hope you keep surprising people.
Thank you, Ben. It was nice talking with you, and thank you for the opportunity to talk on this podcast.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you.
You've been listening to Data Analytics Chat Podcast. Subscribe to our channel for more stories and insights in data and career.